Most people have no idea what is about to happen this November. Something fundamental is quietly breaking down right in front of us, and almost no one is talking about it. I need you to listen very carefully to what I am about to say. Do not skip a single second of this message, because every part connects to the next. If you miss one thread, you will miss the truth entirely. Because this November, 4 immense forces are set to collide. Forces that are already reshaping your life, whether you have realized it or not. These are not predictions. They are present-tense realities, deliberately hidden from view, and hidden especially from our seniors, the very people who built this world and now find themselves being shut out of its next chapter. By the end of this message, I will reveal the fourth force, the most dangerous and intensely personal one of all, and I will show you how you can still protect yourself before time truly runs out. Before I tell you about the first hidden force, which is already in motion as we speak, I want you to tell me where you are listening from right now. Which city, which state? Drop it in the comments below. You might already be feeling the effects of what I am about to describe, and sharing your location will help others see just how widespread this phenomenon has become. And while you are there, please do me a favor and hit the like button. It tells the system that this message is important, helping more people and their families find it and prepare. And of course, do not forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell, because the insights I share will continue to unfold in the coming days, and I do not want you to be left behind in the dark. If you are watching this and ready to understand, just type "I'm learning" in the comments. I want to see how many of you are truly prepared to hear what is about to be shared. Let us begin with the first hidden truth, the silent, systemic collapse of mental health and societal well-being. Look around you, not at the screens, but at the people. Anxiety has become the new oxygen we breathe, a constant, low-humming static in the background of our lives. Sleep, the fundamental pillar of human restoration, is vanishing. Trust in our institutions, our neighbors, and even ourselves is collapsing at an unprecedented rate. And for the first time in modern history, human attention, your mind itself, has become a globally traded commodity. This is not an exaggeration. Every major platform you interact with today, from social media to news aggregators, is designed not to connect you, but to consume you. Their business model is predicated on capturing and holding your focus for as long as possible, fragmenting your thoughts and redirecting your emotions. For seniors, for people in their 60s, 70s, and 80s, this situation is profoundly worse. The digital world that you did not grow up in is now, without your consent, the only place where society truly operates. In 2023, the United States Surgeon General declared loneliness a national epidemic. This was not a random or coincidental timing. It was the inevitable culmination of an engineered reality. The more disconnected you feel in the real world, the more dependent you become on the screens that tell you who you are, what to fear, and, most importantly, who to trust. This is nothing short of psychological warfare, cleverly disguised as convenience. Millions of people are quietly losing their sense of purpose, their inner compass shattered by the relentless barrage of digital noise. I have said it before, and I will say it again. Artificial intelligence is not just going to compete with humans economically, it is already competing for human meaning. And when a society's sense of meaning collapses, so does its civilization. You might think this does not concern you directly, that you have lived through harder times, through wars and recessions. But this is different. This is an invisible erosion, the kind that does not break bones, but dissolves spirit. It steals joy, rewires your thinking patterns, and makes people give up long before they even realize a battle was being fought. I want you to ask yourself, honestly, how many people around you feel truly, vibrantly alive right now? When was the last time you woke up feeling clear, driven, and genuinely hopeful about the future? Be honest with yourself. Share your answer in the comments below. Just write, "I feel the shift," or "I don't feel it yet." I want to know where you stand, because awareness is the very first line of defense. Let me tell you about a woman from Michigan, a retired teacher of 68 named Carol. She spent her life shaping young minds, a pillar of her community. After retiring 2 years ago, she now says she cannot make it through a single day without checking her phone, by her own estimate, nearly 2,000 times. She has lost interest in reading, her church group, and even finds her own grandkids' visits feel short and distant. Her mind, she confessed, is always elsewhere. Carol is not an anomaly. She is the new normal, and that is what truly scares me.
What is happening right now is not about mental health awareness campaigns. It is about mental control. It is a quiet, insidious redirection of your inner life toward a manufactured world, a world where your emotions are monetized and your convictions are shaped by algorithms. The result is a generation spanning all ages that is becoming emotionally homeless, adrift in a sea of digital distraction. I am sharing this with you because almost no one else is framing it this way. If you do not become fiercely intentional about reclaiming your focus, this system will rewrite what you care about before you even notice the change. That is why I constantly tell people to use tools that pull you out of the digital noise and back into a state of clarity. Every single morning, I use a simple 31-day daily high-impact planner. It is not a fancy app, not another dopamine trap. It is just paper and a pen, writing one conviction at a time. The physical act of writing forces the mind to slow down, to focus, to synthesize. In this accelerated world, slowing down is the new act of rebellion. Try it tomorrow morning. Before you check a single notification, write down one thing you believe in, one unwavering conviction. By the end of the month, you will have built a foundation of 31 beliefs stronger than any algorithm. We are entering a profound mental health reset moment, and most people will not make it through without burning out or giving up. But you can. Because awareness is not about instilling fear, it is about granting power. And once you see how they have designed distraction to feel like connection, you can finally, consciously, step outside of it. Do not let this system rewrite who you are. Guard your mind as if your life depends on it, because it absolutely does. And this is only the beginning. The second hidden truth is far more unsettling, and it is already creeping into your home, your finances, and your independence without you realizing it. It is happening as we speak, and I will explain exactly how and what you can still do to stop it in the next few moments. But for now, tell me in the comments, do you feel this mental shift in the people around you, or do you think it is being exaggerated? Write either, "I feel the shift," or "Not yet, but I see the signs." Your awareness might be the very thing that helps someone else wake up. Remember, this is not about fear, it is about freedom. And freedom always begins in the mind.
Most people believe that technology is synonymous with progress. But what if I told you that this particular brand of progress is quietly stealing something far more valuable than your time? It is stealing your autonomy. You see, while everyone is distracted by the latest smartphone, the newest app, and the endless promises of convenience, a massive systemic shift has already begun. One that is quietly and methodically excluding millions of people from the modern world. And it is set to accelerate this November. Do not skip what I am about to say, because this is not a future problem. It is reshaping lives every second of every day. You may not see the walls being built, but you are already inside them. And by the time we reach the end of this message, I will tell you why this is happening, why they are hiding it from you, and what you can still do before it becomes irreversible. Because the truth is this: the more connected the world becomes, the more disconnected you become from control over your own life. The second hidden truth, the one that the architects of our new world are not talking about, is the rise of digital exclusion and the quiet, pervasive loss of personal autonomy. Across America, the United Kingdom, Canada, and Australia, millions of seniors are being digitally locked out of the very society they helped build. Physical bank branches are closing their doors, forcing customers onto confusing online platforms. Doctors are moving to telehealth services, requiring reliable internet and technical proficiency for a simple consultation. Tasks that were once straightforward, like paying taxes or renewing a license, now require a gauntlet of passwords, two-factor authentication apps, and constant verification codes. Each one of those changes sounds small, perhaps even efficient on its own. But taken together, they are creating a world you cannot fully access without a specific device, a constantly changing code, and an algorithm's permission. That is not progress. That is dependency disguised as innovation. I have been warning for years that artificial intelligence will not take your job immediately. It will first take your access, and that process has already begun. In the United States, more than 25 million seniors report having difficulty completing basic digital tasks. That is not just social media. That is banking, healthcare, insurance, and taxes, the absolute pillars of modern life. In the United Kingdom, nearly 30% of people over the age of 65 say they cannot use essential online services without assistance.
In Australia, the number is even more stark. More than 40% of retirement-age citizens feel, in their own words, digitally invisible. Invisible, that is the word that keeps repeating across the developed world. And the cruel, tragic irony is that the very people who constructed the systems and infrastructure that shaped the modern world are now being slowly, systematically locked out of them. If you've felt this frustration yourself, share your story in the comments. Let others know they are not alone in this struggle. Here is the pattern they do not want you to see. Each new software update, each new security protocol gives more control to digital intermediaries, the tech companies, the AI systems, the invisible platforms that decide what you can do and when you can do it. You do not see the locks on the doors because they are hidden behind lines of code and buried in lengthy terms of service agreements. But one system update can now disable your access to your money, your communication with your family, your health data, even your very identity, instantly and without appeal. And the most dangerous part? You will not know it has happened until you need it most, in a moment of crisis. That is why I am telling you this, not to scare you, but to prepare you. I received a message last month from a 72-year-old man in California named Robert. He lost access to his bank account after a new identity verification update was rolled out. He called customer support, and they told him, "Sir, you need to use the app to verify your identity." He explained, "I don't have a smartphone." Their response was chillingly simple. "Then, we can't help you." For 3 weeks, this man, a former small business owner, could not access his life savings. He told me, in a voice filled with a quiet desperation, "It's like I don't exist anymore." That is not an isolated story. That is a warning flare. If we do not act now, the systems that were meant to serve us will soon control us. And here is what is happening behind the curtain. AI systems are already being trained to assess who gets access to resources based on their digital behavior. It is a concept known in the industry as algorithmic eligibility, and it decides if you qualify for insurance, a loan, a medical appointment, or even housing. The less digitally active you are, the less data you generate, the more risky the system assumes you are. So seniors, the demographic least represented in these vast datasets, become the first to lose their autonomy in silence.
That is the invisible exclusion that is spreading faster than any economic crisis, and most people have no idea it is even happening. Now, I want you to ask yourself this question. What happens when access becomes the new currency? When control shifts from people to automated systems, who decides who stays included?
Drop your answer in the comments. I genuinely want to see your perspective. Comment either "access is control" or "we're losing autonomy." Let's see how many people are truly awake to what is unfolding. This is precisely why I keep saying to write things down. Do not outsource your memory, your plans, and your identity to devices that track you more than they help you. That 31-day daily high-impact planner is not just a tool for organization, it is an act of resistance. Every line you write by hand keeps your thoughts, your strategies, and your life outside the algorithm. Because what you write, you own. What you click, they own. So tomorrow morning, before you go online, write down one area of your life where you want to regain control. It could be your time, your spending, or your attention. Start there. That is how autonomy begins. One written, conscious decision at a time. Let me tell you something that will make more sense later on. The most dangerous system being built right now is not physical. It is psychological. The silent conditioning of our trust in automation is creating generations that believe convenience is the same as safety. That is why they are hiding the real agenda. It is not because it is overtly evil, but because widespread dependence keeps economies running smoothly. Independence, on the other hand, does not. But your independence is the only thing that can protect you from what is coming next. Because what is approaching this November is not just about technology. It is about the replacement of human agency, and it is happening faster than anyone expected. I cannot reveal everything just yet, but I will before the end of this message. The fourth hidden force, the darkest and most personal one, is already in motion, and it explains why this digital exclusion exists in the first place. When I tell you what it is, you will understand exactly what is coming and why you are not hearing about it from the mainstream media. But for now, remember this. Every click, every sign-in, every password reset is data. And data is not the new oil. It is the new chain. The only way to break that chain is to reclaim the small decisions you have quietly handed over. Time is running out. In November, more systems go live. New national ID verifications, new automation frameworks, new security layers that look protective but function as digital checkpoints. Most people will not notice the change until they cannot log in one day. And by then, it will be too late to question the system. That is why you are hearing this now, because someone had to tell you before the system finishes building itself around you. So, if you are listening, do not panic. Prepare. Start simple. Learn one new digital tool, but own it. Do not let it own you. Keep your most important financial information accessible offline. Keep printed copies of what truly matters. Stay alert. And do not forget that this message found you for a reason. Because the third hidden truth, coming next, connects every single piece of this puzzle. It will explain why what is unfolding right now is not an accident, but a deliberate financial and generational reset. And that reset is already quietly eroding the very foundation most retirees depend on. Stay with me. Do not skip what is next. You will understand why no one is telling you the full picture, and why what is coming could change everything about the way you live. They told you to save for the future. They never told you the future would fundamentally change the value of what you saved. What is unfolding right now, quietly, mathematically, and relentlessly, is the third hidden force reshaping our lives in real time. The collision of longer lifespans and rapidly eroding money.
This is not some distant threat looming years from now. It is here, tightening its grip with every month, every paycheck, and every grocery bill. Please keep listening carefully, because this connects everything you have heard before. The loss of access and autonomy was just the preparation. This third force strikes directly at the heart of what you have worked your entire life for: your independence, your dignity, and your ability to live on your own terms. Across the United States, the United Kingdom, Canada, and Australia, a stark paradox is playing out. Life expectancy keeps rising, while the real-world value of retirement income keeps falling. On paper, you might have enough saved. In practice, your savings are shrinking every single time the price of gas, food, or electricity rises faster than the interest you earn. Inflation does not need to hit double digits to destroy wealth. It only needs to persist. And it is persisting. The cost of food, healthcare, and housing, the non-negotiable pillars of survival, are all rising at 2 to 3 times the official government-reported rate of inflation. That gap, the chasm between the numbers they report and the lives people actually live, is where millions are quietly slipping into a state of financial exhaustion. Here is the pattern that no one in a position of power wants you to notice. As people live longer, the systems that promised them security, pensions, insurance, social benefits, were never designed for this new timeline. Every extra year of life now costs an extra year of spending power, but that power is eroding faster than anyone predicted. The financial industry calls it longevity risk, which is a clinical, blame-shifting term for the risk of outliving your savings. But in truth, it is not just about longevity. It is about years of policy delay, consistent currency dilution, and systemic denial. While the headlines celebrate resilient economies and strong markets, silent inflation keeps redrawing the map of affordability.
Ask yourself this brutally honest question. If prices keep rising faster than your interest or investment returns, how long can your savings truly last? Drop your answer below. Just share your comment, "It's already happening," or "We can't keep up." Let others see what you are experiencing. This conversation must leave the shadows and enter the light. A woman from Manchester, England named Eleanor wrote to me recently. She retired 8 years ago with what she and her financial advisor thought was enough money to last for 20 comfortable years. Today, she is down to half of it, not because of lavish spending, but because of the relentless rise in the cost of simply living. A man from Texas, David, told me that his monthly health insurance premiums now equal his monthly grocery budget. A retired couple in Melbourne, Australia, had to sell their family home of 40 years just to cover the long-term care costs for one of them. Different countries, different people, but the same brutal math. Longer lives, smaller margins, and a rising tide of fear. And yet, so few are talking about it. Why? Because the entire system depends on silence. If too many people realize that their entire savings plan is based on outdated and now invalid assumptions, confidence collapses. And it is confidence, not intrinsic value, that keeps these complex financial systems standing. But here is the deeper, more profound truth. Longevity should have been humanity's greatest victory. Instead, it is being twisted into an economic liability. People are effectively being punished for living longer. How did this happen? It happened because our financial models were built for a world of shorter lives, lower inflation, and predictable steady growth. None of that exists anymore.
Every extension of life expectancy adds unbearable strain to pension funds. Every burst of inflation transfers purchasing power directly from savers like you to debtors like governments and large corporations. The debtors actually benefit from the erosion of your wealth. That is why so few are sounding the alarm. The system survives on the quiet decay of your stored labor. So, what can you possibly do? You start by knowing. Then you start by tracking what you can control. This is where that simple 31-day daily high impact planner becomes critically important again. Use it to write down what you spend, what you owe, and what you own. Do it on paper, not inside a digital platform that feeds your financial data back into the same algorithms that profit from your behavior. Every note you write by hand is clarity reclaimed. Because the one advantage you still hold over automation is awareness. And awareness, when practiced daily, compounds faster than any interest rate.
Now, listen carefully. There is something even bigger hidden beneath this financial erosion, something that ties every force we have talked about together. The loss of mental focus, the digital dependency, the silent inflation. They are not random, disconnected events. They are phases of a deeper realignment that is peaking this coming month. What happens when millions of people who depend on a fixed income meet markets designed for extreme volatility? What happens when the same technologies that promised financial inclusion start deciding who gets credit, who gets healthcare, and who remains insured? This is not speculation, it is scheduled. This November, multiple new policy reviews and financial system adjustments are set to go live across several major economies. These include index recalibrations, pension fund rule changes, and health cost adjustments. Each one looks small and technical in isolation, but together they will shift the weight of survival even further onto individuals, especially seniors, at the very moment their financial margins have vanished. Pause and think about that. How many people will realize, far too late, that their safe retirement plan depends on numbers that no longer reflect reality? How many will wake up next year wondering where their purchasing power went? You can already see it in every shrinking grocery cart, in every utility bill that quietly doubles while official inflation numbers claim everything is under control. If you feel it, you are not imagining it. You are witnessing the great adjustment that no one ever announced. Share your story in the comments. What changed most for you in the past year? Costs, healthcare, or housing? Write it down. Read the replies from others. That connection matters. Awareness spreads faster when it is personal. Now understand this. The erosion of retirement security is not the end of the story. It is the preparation for what follows. Everything so far, the digital dependence, the silent exclusion, the financial drain, is converging toward a single critical pivot point. That next phase is the reason the media stays quiet, because it is not just about money or access anymore. It is about your identity and your control. I will explain that next. I will tell you what it is, why it is accelerating this November, and what you can do right now to shield yourself and your family. Because when this next shift hits, most people will not even recognize that it has begun until they are already inside it. And by then, protection will depend not on what you own, but on what you understand. So stay with this message. Do not skip what is coming next. It is the most urgent truth of all, the one that explains why you have felt these patterns tightening around you, and why this video found you at this exact moment.
They told you your home was your castle, your place of safety. But what happens when your home becomes the last place left to go, simply because there is nowhere else? This is the fourth and final hidden force, already reshaping millions of lives.
It is the reality of aging in place without adequate support. This is not a theoretical problem. It is visible in every quiet neighborhood, every darkened apartment window, every senior living alone behind a closed door. And it is accelerating this very month as costs continue to rise, essential services shrink, and our social systems strain under record demand. Keep listening, because this is the one that few have dared to speak about in public. It is the most personal, the most human, and the one that connects everything we have uncovered so far into a single heartbreaking picture. Across the United States, the United Kingdom, Canada, and Australia, nearly half of all older adults now live alone. Many of them thought they would age with family nearby or within strong, intact community networks. Instead, they are facing the harsh reality of shrinking pensions, skyrocketing living costs, and vanishing care options. In the U.S., 1 in 4 adults over the age of 65 report skipping basic medical visits because they cannot afford the transport or do not have home assistance. In Britain, more than 1 million older adults go an entire week without speaking to another human being. In Australia, the waiting lists for aged care services now exceed 250,000 people. These are not just statistics, they are the early warnings of a system that is quietly breaking down under the weight of its own promises. The pattern hidden beneath all of this is as simple as it is cruel. Governments and institutions encourage aging in place to reduce their own costs, operating under the convenient assumption that family members or local communities will fill the enormous gap. But families are now scattered across the country, if not the world. Younger generations are overworked and financially stressed themselves, and the great digital shift we discussed has severed one of the last remaining lifelines of social contact. The result is that millions of seniors are being left to manage alone, physically, financially, and emotionally. Each month that passes without a real structural support system deepens this divide. Technology promises remote care, but in reality, it often replaces compassionate human beings with impersonal screens. The housing market promises stability, but instead, rents and property taxes rise far faster than any fixed income. Health systems promise accessibility, but automation, bureaucracy, and staffing shortages mean longer waits and fewer actual visits. The result is independence without infrastructure. I want you to ask yourself, what happens when independence becomes isolation? When the freedom of aging in place turns into the prison of silent neglect? Drop your view below. Comment, "Independence needs support," or "We're being left behind." Read what others have to say. Share your experiences. This crisis is global, but our recognition of it must begin locally. There is a story from Toronto about a retired teacher named Margaret, 81 years old and living alone. Her savings had dwindled with inflation. Her government-subsidized caregiver hours were cut due to budget constraints, and then her landlord raised her rent by 15%. She told a community volunteer in a moment of quiet candor, "I still have my house keys, but I don't feel at home anywhere anymore." Similar voices are echoing in Texas, in Glasgow, in Sydney, in Oakland. Each one is describing the same quiet reversal. People are living longer lives, but they are being supported less. This is the devastating social counterparts to the economic erosion we already uncovered. Financial insecurity isolates a person, and that isolation accelerates physical and mental decline. One feeds the other in a vicious cycle until a person's resilience finally collapses. Here is the deeper structure that no one is showing you. Digital exclusion, economic erosion, and now the collapse of physical care systems, these are not random misfortunes. They converge toward a single outcome, a profound reduction in personal autonomy, cleverly masked as personal choice.
The system tells people they are choosing to stay home, when in truth, many simply cannot afford the alternatives. The optimistic narrative of independence conceals a brutal policy of withdrawal. This is why the media avoids this topic. To admit this systemic failure would be to admit that longevity without support is not progress. It is a form of abandonment. And yet, it is inside this bleak pattern that the last area of your personal control still exists: preparation. Awareness does not reverse inflation or fix a broken policy, but it dramatically changes your reaction time. That is why writing things down, recording your needs, your contacts, your finances still matters so profoundly. Use that 31-day daily high-impact planner to map out your personal support network. Who can you call in an emergency? What services can you outsource? What documents must you secure before a crisis hits? Every page you complete is a safeguard, a bulwark against chaos. The moment you begin to plan on paper, you reclaim a measure of agency from systems that seem designed to forget you.
Now, pay close attention. This coming month marks a critical convergence point. New cost of living adjustments, healthcare premium resets, and policy reforms are all scheduled to take effect, and nearly all of them shift even more responsibility onto individuals. For those aging at home, that means higher out-of-pocket costs and reduced access to in-person aid. These small, bureaucratic adjustments will translate into real, tangible isolation for millions of people. Time is running out to prepare for this. Look closer and you will see it happening all around you. You will see lights going off earlier at night in your neighbors' homes, local pharmacies closing on weekends, and home care workers stretched thin across impossible routes. It does not make the headline news because it unfolds one household at a time. But when enough isolated households exist, society itself begins to fragment. That fragmentation is the signal that no one is measuring. It is the silent crisis already in motion. Share your own story in the comments. What is the hardest part of staying independent where you live? Is it the costs, the health services, or the loneliness? Your perspective can help others recognize the same patterns taking shape around them. This is how collective awareness begins, one shared truth at a time. Understand this clearly. This crisis of support is not the end. It is the threshold. The first three forces we discussed deconstructed our world. This one exposes the devastating human consequence. And behind it all, something even larger is moving, something tied directly to the future of personal freedom, individual identity, and how much control we will be allowed to have over our own lives in the years ahead. Everything that has happened, the economic erosion, the technological exclusion, the collapse of care, is setting the stage for a societal transformation that few are prepared for. It will redefine what freedom means in our daily lives. You need to hear this before the next wave begins. Please hit the like button so this message can reach more people who are facing the same reality. Subscribe and turn on the bell icon so you do not miss what comes next, because it is the most critical message of all. While this crisis deepens in the quiet places of our world, remember that awareness is still power. And power, when shared among those who understand, can still change outcomes. Stay alert, write everything down, and never ever forget that the silence you feel around you is the sound of a world shifting beneath your feet. Check my other videos on this channel for more information, and I will see you in the next one.